The signal from the stars. The Grand Council chamber of the Galactic Coalition hung suspended in orbit around Nexus Prime, its crystalline walls refracting starlight in patterns that had calmed diplomats from 1,000 worlds for millennia. Today, those patterns trembled as explosions bloomed silently in the void beyond. First Speaker Turnell, his translucent skin clouded with stress, addressed the emergency session. His forearms gestured in the formal patterns of extreme urgency, something not seen in the chamber for 700 cycles. "The Hive fleets have breached the outer rim defenses," he announced, his voice a melodic hum that nonetheless carried desperation. 17 worlds have fallen in the past standard month. Our projections indicate the core systems will be reached within 60 days. Murmurs rippled through the gathered representatives, their various biochemistries producing a symphony of distress signals, pheromones, light patterns, and subsonic vibrations that the chamber's systems translated into a universal sensory experience of dread. Ambassador Xilia of the Luminary rose, her body glowing with the pale blue light of concern. "Our defensive technologies have always been sufficient. What has changed?" "The Hive has evolved," replied Defense Coordinator Verilon, activating a holographic display. "They're deploying new organic weapons that consume our shield frequencies and adapt. Our scientists can't develop countermeasures fast enough." "Then we are doomed," stated the Quantan representative, his mercury-like form rippling in resignation. Turnell's secondary eyes closed in what his species recognized as determination. "There is one option we have not considered." The chamber fell silent. "The quarantine system," he continued. "Earth." The silence transformed into uproar. Earth. The name alone caused several delegates to emit stress toxins. "Madness," shouted the Volari ambassador. "Earth is a Class 12 death world. Its inhabitants evolved through constant warfare and environmental pressures that would kill most of us instantly." "Precisely," Turnell replied quietly, and the room stilled again. "The humans survive conditions we consider fatal. They breathe corrosive oxygen. Their bones grow denser in response to their crushing gravity. Their bodies repair damage at rates our medical science considers impossible." "They're savages," hissed another delegate. "They're survivors," countered Turnell. "And right now, survival is what we need." 2 cycles later, deep in a fortified bunker beneath what had once been the Coalition embassy on Talaris Prime, Science Director Elsura calibrated the ancient beacon. The device had been constructed centuries ago during first observations of Earth, before the quarantine decision. "This violates every protocol," whispered her assistant. "The Hive has already breached this system's outer defenses," Elsura replied, her photosensitive skin darkening with purpose. "Protocol won't matter when we're extinct." She activated the device, a simple message, carefully translated through mathematical principles that any technological species should understand, shot through space toward a small blue-green planet that the Coalition had deemed too dangerous to contact. "Help us. We are dying." Captain Maya Rice stood on the observation deck of the International Space Defense Station, watching Earth rotate below. At 43, she had spent most of her career preparing for wars that never came. First with the U.S. Space Force, then with the United Earth Defense Initiative, after the climate wars forced global cooperation. Her comm unit buzzed. "Captain, you're needed in command immediately." Moments later, she stood before a display showing waveform patterns unlike anything she'd seen before. "We picked it up simultaneously at SETI arrays in California, China, and Chile," explained Dr. Alan Chen, his excitement barely contained. "It's not natural. The signal contains mathematical sequences, universal constants, and..." He pulled up another screen. "This." 3 simple words appeared. "Help us. Dying." Within hours, the UN Security Council convened an emergency session. Maya found herself presenting alongside Dr. Chen to a room of stunned world leaders. "The signal originates from approximately 37 light-years away, in the Tau Ceti system," she explained. It contains technical specifications suggesting faster-than-light communication technology far beyond our capabilities. So they're asking for our help, but we can't reach them, asked the Secretary General. Dr. Chen cleared his throat. Actually, there's more. The signal contains technical blueprints, partial schematics for what appears to be a propulsion system. They're giving us the technology to reach them, Maya added, or luring us into a trap, countered the Russian president. Maya looked around the room. With respect, if a civilization can communicate across 37 light years, they don't need tricks to destroy us. They're asking for help because they need something we have that they don't. And what might that be, Captain? Asked the Chinese premier. Maya took a breath. The signal contains basic information about their biology. They evolved in low gravity, minimal radiation, with nitrogen-based biochemistry. When we compare those conditions to Earth, she displayed a chart. Our planet would be lethal to them. Crushing gravity, intense radiation, toxic oxygen. They're asking for help from a species that evolved on what they consider a death world, Dr. Chen concluded. 6 months later, Maya stood in the massive hangar beneath the Atacama Desert, looking up at humanity's answer to the alien distress call. The UES Defender, Earth's first faster-than-light vessel, gleamed under the harsh lights. A converted International Space Station module formed its core, with new sections built around it incorporating the alien propulsion technology. "She's not pretty," said Commander Jackson Lai, her second-in-command, "but she'll fly." "How long to complete the fleet?" Maya asked. "The Defender can launch next week. The remaining 5 vessels will be ready within a month. We've prioritized different specialties for each ship: medical, scientific, combat, engineering, agricultural, and diplomatic." Maya nodded. "And crew selection?" "Complete. We've assembled the best from every nation: pilots who've handled experimental aircraft, soldiers who've survived extreme conditions, doctors who've worked in crisis zones, engineers who've built the impossible." He handed her a tablet. Many volunteered after hearing the distress call. Maya scrolled through the list, pausing at a familiar name. "Dr. Chen is coming." Lai shrugged. He said if he's going to stake humanity's future on his translation, he should be there to face the consequences. The next week, Maya addressed the assembled crew of the Defender. "No human has ever traveled beyond our solar system. No human has ever met an alien species. Today, we will do both. The beings who sent this call may be completely unlike us, but they reached out across the stars with one universal message: help. Whatever differences exist between us and them, we share this. When faced with extinction, we fight to survive." She looked at the diverse faces before her: Chinese, Nigerian, Brazilian, Russian, Indian, American, and dozens more nationalities. "Each of you was chosen not just for your skills, but for your adaptability, your resilience. Where we're going, these qualities may matter more than any technology. We carry with us not just the hopes of Earth, but the answer to a plea from the stars. Let's not keep them waiting." 3 days later, the UES Defender activated its newly constructed FTL drive and vanished from Earth orbit, followed soon after by its sister ships: the Mercy, the Discovery, the Fortitude, the Bounty, and the Diplomat. Humanity's first steps beyond its solar system were not taken in exploration or conquest, but in answer to a call for help. First Speaker Terror Nell stood in the Emergency Command Center on Nexus Prime, watching the holographic display of the Hive fleet's advance. 3 more systems had fallen since they sent the beacon to Earth. No response had come. "It was foolishness," said Verlon beside him. "Even if the humans received our message, even if they understood it, they lacked the technology to help us." Turnell's skin rippled with uncertainty. "Perhaps, or perhaps." And aid burst into the chamber. First Speaker: "Our deep space arrays have detected 6 unknown vessels approaching at faster than light speeds. The Hive has FTL capability now." Verlon asked, his color paling. "No, The aide replied, They're following the path of our beacon. They're coming from Earth. The command center erupted in activity. Turnell felt a complex emotion his species rarely experienced, hope mingled with terror. They understood our message, he whispered, and they built the drive. In 6 months, Verlon added incredulously, a species that hasn't even colonized its own star system, constructed interstellar travel in half a cycle. The holographic display shifted to show 6 vessels decelerating into the outer reaches of the Nexus system. They were crewed by Coalition standards, angular, functional, with none of the biomimetic elegance that characterized advanced galactic engineering. But they were here. Open communications, ordered Turnall. After a moment of static, a voice came through. The translation systems struggling to convert the harsh sounds into something comprehensible. This is Captain Maya Rise of the United Earth Ship Defender, responding to your distress call. We've brought a small fleet with specialists in medicine, engineering, agriculture, diplomacy, and defense. Please advise on the nature of your emergency and how we can assist. The command center fell silent, every being present trying to process the reality that the quarantined Deathworlders had not only responded, they had assembled a rescue mission. Turnall began, his voice unsteady, we welcome you, humans of Earth. Our civilization faces extinction at the hands of an enemy we cannot defeat. We call to you in our darkest hour, and you have come. There was a pause before the human replied, her voice somehow conveying both warmth and steel even through the translation. That's what humans do, first speaker. When someone calls for help, we answer. Humanity unleashed. The grand reception hall of Nexus Prime had never hosted beings like these before. The 6 human representatives stood in the center of the chamber, surrounded by Coalition delegates who maintained a cautious distance. Captain Rice understood their hesitation. To them, humans were monsters, high-gravity giants with dense muscles and reinforced bones, breathing caustic oxygen, their bodies fueled by chemical reactions that would poison most galactic species. Our scientists have prepared this area with Earth-like conditions, first speaker Turnall explained, his translucent form hovering a safe distance away. We hope it is comfortable. Thank you for your consideration, Maya replied. We've brought environmental suits for diplomatic interactions. They'll allow us to function in your standard atmospheric conditions while keeping you safe from our biology. Several Coalition delegates visibly relaxed. Maya had expected the fear. What she hadn't expected was the odd fascination many showed, like scientists observing a natural phenomenon both terrifying and beautiful. Defense Coordinator Verlon moved forward, his metallic exoskeleton glinting. While we appreciate your response to our call, Captain, I must express skepticism. The Hive has overwhelmed our most advanced defensive systems. What can 6 ships from a pre-FTL civilization offer against such a force? Dr. Chen stepped forward. With respect, Coordinator, that's precisely why we might succeed where you failed. The Hive has adapted to your technologies and strategies. We represent an unknown factor. And added Commander Lai, humans have a long history of asymmetric warfare. Sometimes the primitive approach works precisely because it's unexpected. As if to punctuate his point, the chamber's alert system activated. A Coalition officer hurried to Turnall, communicating in rapid pulses of light. The Hive has breached the heliopause, Turnall announced. They will reach Nexus Prime in under 3 standard days. Maya exchanged glances with her team. Then we'd better get started. Aboard the UES Defender, Maya reviewed the Coalition's tactical data with growing concern. They've never developed offensive military technology, she explained to the assembled human commanders. Their entire defensive doctrine revolves around increasingly powerful shields and evasion. That explains why they're losing, said Colonel Avasi of the Fortitude, the fleet's combat specialist. They can't win a war by only defending. Dr. Lakshmi Patel, the xenobiologist, brought up a holographic display of the Hive. These creatures evolved as collective colony organisms, Their ships are partially biological, capable of rapid adaptation and self-repair. They've developed countermeasures for every coalition defense by essentially evolving in real time. So they're like space locusts, offered Chief Engineer Rodriguez, consuming everything in their path. But all biological systems have limitations, Maya pointed out, vulnerabilities. And they've never encountered humans before, added Dr. Chen. They've never needed to adapt to our approach to warfare. Maya stood. We have 3 days. I want options. 48 hours later, Maya presented their plan to the coalition leadership. The alien faces around her registered emotions her human brain couldn't fully interpret, but she recognized the universal expression of disbelief. You want to intentionally allow the hive into the inner system? Turinal asked, his skin rippling with distress patterns. Yes, Maya confirmed. Your strategy of creating defensive perimeters hasn't worked because it gives the hive time to adapt. We need to draw them in, divide their forces, and strike at vulnerabilities they don't yet know they have. This is madness, Verlon objected. You're proposing sacrificing our outer habitats as bait. We're proposing evacuating those habitats, corrected Colonel Abazi, and then using them as both bait and battleground. The hive has always faced you in space. We're going to force them to face us in environments we've prepared. Maya continued. Coalition scientists have confirmed that the hive's biological components are vulnerable to certain radiation frequencies, high-pressure environments, and rapid temperature fluctuations. She smiled slightly. Conditions humans evolved to withstand on Earth. You intend to fight them directly? Asked a coalition scientist, their photosynthetic appendages darkening in alarm. Physical combat. Commander Lai nodded. Among other approaches, your civilians will remain evacuated to the core worlds under your shield networks. Our ships will coordinate with your remaining fleet to implement our strategy. The coalition leaders conferred among themselves, communicating in ways the humans couldn't perceive. Finally, Turnal addressed them. Our civilization has avoided warfare for thousands of years. Perhaps that is why we now face extinction. We will follow your plan, humans of Earth. May we not regret this decision. The hive arrived as predicted, a swarm of biomechanical vessels that moved with disturbing organic fluidity. They encountered minimal resistance at the outer system and advanced rapidly toward the evacuated habitats orbiting the gas giant Nexus V. Aboard the Defender, Maya watched the enemy formation. They're taking the bait. Commencement in 3, 2, 1. At her command, concealed emitters on the habitats activated, bathing the area in radiation specifically calibrated to disrupt the hive's biological components without affecting human physiology. Simultaneously, the coalition vessels unveiled new weapons hastily constructed based on human designs, primitive by galactic standards, but devastating in their simplicity. The high ships faltered, their adaptive processes temporarily overwhelmed by conditions they had never encountered. From hidden positions, the Earth vessels launched their attack. Unlike the elegant energy weapons of the coalition, human munitions were physical, kinetic kill vehicles, guided missiles, and railgun projectiles. The hive's defenses, evolved to counter energy-based attacks, proved inadequate against these ancient methods of destruction. In the command center on Nexus Prime, the coalition leadership watched in astonishment as Deathworld tactics unfolded before them. There, boarding the hive vessels, one observer noted with horror and fascination. Indeed, teams of human soldiers in specialized combat suits had launched from the Fortitude, using the confusion to physically enter several high ships. Coalition monitors picked up scattered communications. Breached successful, proceeding to central nervous cluster. Resistance heavy. These bastards bleed acid. Adjusting tactics. Deploying biological countermeasure. Let's see how they like Earth bacteria. The battle raged for 17 hours. The hive forces, confronted with strategies they had never evolved defenses against, fell into disarray. The coordinated assault from both human and coalition forces drove them back from Nexus V, then from the system entirely. When Maya returned to Nexus Prime, she found the Coalition leadership regarding her species with new eyes, still fearful, but now with a profound respect. "You did what we thought impossible," Turnell said in the aftermath. "But your methods were necessary," Maya finished firmly. "The Hive understands only consumption and adaptation. We showed them something they couldn't adapt to quickly enough. Your species fights differently than any we've encountered," Verlon observed. "You employed violence, yes, but also deception, psychological warfare, and biological countermeasures. You used your own bodies as weapons. We come from a world that tried to kill us every day of our evolution," Dr. Chen explained. "We learned to survive by any means necessary." Turnell's skin glowed with a new pattern, one the translation system identified as profound realization. "We quarantined Earth because we feared what would happen if Deathworlders joined Galactic society," he said. "We never considered what would happen if we needed Deathworlders to save it." In the days that followed, the Coalition began implementing human defensive strategies throughout their territory. The Hive, encountering unexpected and devastating losses, retreated to regroup. For the first time in a cycle, the extinction threat receded. On the eve of the Earth fleet's departure, Turnell presented Maya with a crystalline object, the highest honor in Coalition culture. "The quarantine of Earth is officially lifted," he announced. "The Coalition formally requests diplomatic relations with humanity." Maya accepted the crystal. "We're honored, first speaker, but there's something you should know." She glanced at her crew, then back to the alien diplomat. "We didn't bring our entire military capability. These 6 ships represent a tiny fraction of Earth's potential." "A test mission," Verlon realized. "Precisely," Maya confirmed. "We needed to know what we were dealing with before committing further resources. Now we do." She smiled, and several Coalition members instinctively stepped back from the display of teeth. "And we're ready to help you end this war completely." As the Earth ships prepared for departure, now laden with galactic technology freely given in gratitude, the Coalition leadership gathered to watch. "They called them Deathworlders," murmured in aid to Turnell. "Perhaps we should have called them Life Defenders." Turnell's skin rippled with what his species recognized as wry amusement. "Remember this lesson," he said. "Sometimes, when facing extinction, you need the creatures from the world of death to teach you how to live." The Earth ships engaged their drives and vanished into FTL, carrying the news back to their planet that humanity's place among the stars would not be as conquerors or even explorers, but as the unexpected saviors of a galaxy that had feared them. And somewhere in the void, the Hive Collective processed new information about the species they had encountered, creatures that breathed poison, withstood radiation, endured crushing gravity, and turned everything, even their own fragile bodies, into weapons of war. For the first time in their existence, the Hive experienced something akin to fear. The Deathworlders were coming, and the galaxy would never be the same.